see, any relational databases follows the ACID properties. Okay, anyone wants to say what is ACID property? ACID. When you say it's a relational database or a relational database, it suffice ACID. Later on, we will see why that NoSQL databases have come into picture. Okay, because NoSQL will not satisfy the ACID properties. Yeah, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So anyone wants to say what each means? Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Atomicity is it's like a complete transaction. They'll say what does it mean is, say if any transactions you make, see any transactions means it is not a bank transaction. Okay, it is like you are telling or creating any table. First you create a table. Okay, and you add data into the table, like row 1, all columns into the table. Okay, this action will be complete. Okay, this value into the table. Okay, insert value, I write a query, and the complete action will be done in one flow. Otherwise, in real time, what you can see is, and the banking transaction or something, if you say one transaction happens, okay, from one, if you're going to transfer the fund from one account to another account, the complete transaction completes, right? From taking the amount like 10,000 from account to one. Okay, and the 10,000 transferring to 10,000 account to, till the complete transaction is finished. This we they say it as atomicity. It means the whole thing will be completed. If I inserted any data into a database, the complete information will be stored into your database, like insertion of employee name, employee ID, everything will be complete. Okay, that they will call it as a atomicity. All the elements that make up a complete database transaction. Say I say create a table. Okay, it can be a transaction. Create a table, it means like a table with a table name also I will give. It means that a table is created. Okay, it will not hang in the middle like table created. I am not told like how to create a table. I also tell like how to create a table also. All things will be done in one complete flow. That the the one complete flow or one complete operation, they call it as a transaction in database also. Okay, like inserting the values, retrieving the values, everything they will say it as a transaction in database also. So in real time you can think like one account to another account, you transferring the data, then that is a one transaction. Okay, then consistency means um, okay, so like in bank transaction, the complete amount, like transferring from account one to account two is finished. Like 10,000 amount I wanted to transfer, 10,000 amount is transferred. That is what the consistency is. Like it defines the rules for maintaining data points in current state after transaction. Whatever the information we give, if we wanted to create the table completely, it will completely create it. That's what that consistency is. It will not be like half the transaction happened or half the transaction didn't happen. Likewise it will not do. Okay, okay, I will explain about isolation is keeps the effect of. Okay, isolation is like each statement will be executed separately. Like I create a table, I select information from a table, I insert the values into the table. Each statement, each SQL query statement will be done separately. Okay, one by one. It will not be like messing up together. Like create also will start, insert also will start. It will not happen. Even when you're passing the queries, when you're writing the SQL queries, no, you will write it likewise only one query at a time. One query will be executed first and the next one and the next one. That's what that isolation is. Okay, keeps the effect of transactions invisible to others until it is committed to avoid confusion. Actually committed means even the others, if we can say like invisible. Okay, one transaction is like creation of a table will not affect the insertion of the table. Likewise it is called. Okay, the intermediate state. In real time, if you can say, like the transferring of a funds from one account to another by a person cannot be seen by another person. So I'm just trying to give a real time example. Okay, don't worry, we will see after later section more detail about that. And durability is once it is updated in the database, like when you created a table, the table will be permanently present there. Okay, it will not be like a removed in the middle, or it will not be, there is something like commit. Okay, where it means once it is committed means once it is, you can think like once a statement is submitted, is a successful, the table will always be present, it will not be like a temporary storage. So this is what acid property is. Acid, you can think like atomic. Okay, each single transactions will be complete in the database. Consistency is the state, like one transaction if you are giving, that transaction will be complete, that you can make it sure. Isolation is the transaction between transaction, here I say like creation of the tables or insertion will not be will not be uh, what you can say overlapping. Okay, each one will go for one by one. Likewise, and durability is it will be present all the time, permanently, whatever the queries you give or whatever the data you put it in your database, it will be present permanently. Is this okay? We will see this topic later on. Okay, so okay, when we start writing our code and all, then not code, our SQL commands, then it will be easy to understand. Okay. See, this properties. No, if it goes to other, if we talk about other languages, like not languages, like no SQL and all, we cannot say that it is atomic. Like one operation is completed, then the other operation will start. That you cannot ensure in no SQL data, other databases, other non-relational databases. These are relational databases. Other non-relation databases, we cannot say that data is stored. Okay, we cannot say that one transaction is not overlapping with the another, that it will not suffice. All these conditions it will not present in other databases, whereas relational database if you take should satisfy all these things. I will tell about this after doing some exercises, then it will be more clear. Okay, now with theory may not be clear. Fine, any other doubts? Okay. Then about structured query language, it is a standard database language, as I told, to create, maintain, and retrieve the relational database datas. A programming language for the relational databases. Okay, a structured query language. And what is structure means in the query language? That's what it is. Here it is. Mm, I'm seeing how many are there. Okay, that's all. So, what is structure in the query language means? In that structured query language, it is mean actually they divide the way of storing the data. So, if you think of Excel sheets, right? Here normally we have columns, right? I'll take employee ID, name, and age. Likewise, and uh, physically we store the data. So there are two ways you can relate. This is the logical structure. Logical structure means how your data table looks like. And this data stored like 100, name as a Peter, age as a 40, and 101. The physical data stored, no, those are called the physical storage structure. Okay, this that is why they say it as a structure where you can represent the data. We can give a logical structure like what can be the how to refer the data, and also the physical storage of data. That's why they call it as a structured query language. Structure itself, they are distinguishing between logical and physical structure. In the logical way, we say that the data tables, the views, and the indexes. Okay, indexes I told no to particularly to for faster access. Say I wanted to get the information of age 40, then you can have an index of a 40 age and you can retrieve the data, so faster index. The views which we see the way to create your table and all, you can say it as a logical structure. An actual stored data, how the data shall be accessed or stored, those are the physical structures. So in this way we call this as the query language as structured. Okay, and the application to specify the content it needs. Okay, and database administrators can manage both the physical data storage without affecting the access to the data. What does it mean is administrators in the, when it comes database, see data, when I talk about database, there can be database users, yeah, the person we are using it, developers who try to develop the database itself, or the administrators who maintains it. When we talk, this is, we are talking in smaller scales, right? We are understanding it, but when it comes to large scale in a company, so administrators will be there. It will not be like a small information. One example I can say about a huge set of information is like, you can think of subscriber information. See, if you think Vodafone, how many subscribers will be there for an Vodafone? Okay, Vodafone subscribers SIM card. For an Airtel, how many subscribers will be there? So the subscriber informations are all so huge. Okay, so to maintain those information and doing uh, loading that into your database and all, the database administrators will come into picture. Obviously when you're storing data, space comes into picture, right? So all these things will be maintained by the database administrators. So they will know how to have a physical storage, like how your database looks like without touching the data information, like the data itself. They can do an administration of how your data can be stored, or how much space each column should take, or each table should take likewise. Okay, renaming a database will not affect the tables. What here I'm trying to say is, without touching the data itself, he can only change the structure of the data, like a physical logical data structure information only he can change it. That's what it means. So is this clear slide? Structure we can think of like a logical format or a physical format. Logical format means how your data is going to be stored in your database, and physical format is actual data. Actual means like name, value, everything. And the administrators will have a control to change the structure of your data, okay, rather than touching your data itself. Okay, this may be extra information, but just it is also there in the slide. Is this fine? Shall I move on? So this is about the logical and the physical storage. Data structures logically means like tables, the views. Views we will see it later on. Okay, we can create a separate views from your tables, and so that it will not be like a physical one, stored one, but I will say it later on. Now, if I say it will be confusing. And indexes, you can have an index for a particular column or anything, and we can use for faster accesses. Likewise, you can think of. Okay, this are a little more understanding I've given. I think I have read somewhere this one. It means somebody who is accessing the table may not change the value of the table. He can only change the structure of the table. That is also possible. Structure means logical structure of the table. That's why I've given it here. Okay, so this is about it. So communication between the RDBMS and the MySQL relational databases and MySQL is, so this is where comes the, now we will understand about the client server. Okay, server is the place where your data is stored, and the client, okay, is the place where you will write queries, that is the SQL queries, SQL queries to access the data from the server. Okay, so in enterprises in or in your companies, you can see this separately because their storage of data will be so huge. Okay, they will server. What is meant by server? This can be a machine. Okay, some server machine, or like some hard disk. We have hard disk, no, so that have, they have a server machine that will with a huge space. Okay, whereas a client can be a small application, like just directly querying the data from the databases. Databases means the server, it is stored in the form of databases only. Okay, there can be multiple databases in the server too. Okay, multiple databases in the server too. Okay, and it can have multiple tables. Okay, so when we are installing it, okay, MySQL in our ubuntu machine, both server and client will be in the same machine, because we are not segregating it, right? We are like only uh, a small scale user for our practice. So when you install it, we will have a client means wherever you write the query, right, you will open a MySQL prompt. Okay, wherever you write your query, that is the SQL query, this will act as a server, and sorry, client, sorry, this will act as a client, and server means our hard disk only, where it is actually data stored. Okay, that it will query from the hard disk, and it will give us as the result. But hard disk, how it is not a direct hard disk accessing, but it is through the server, we say. Okay, is this clear? Client and the server architecture, they divide it in client and server format because maintainability will be easy normally. If it is a client server architecture, okay, we can segregate the operations, like what a client can do, what a server can do. In server spaces, here in MySQL we store data. Okay, we can also do some administrative activities, that's what I told. Like he can access, or the way the data has to be stored, the administrator can give the information, whereas client will give the queries, or the client activities can do uh, like passing queries to the database, to the server, to retrieve some information. That's what here they have written. Select region name from the region. So data is stored, the region is the table name. Okay, this table is stored in the server. It gives the queries to the server, and server gives the information, the region name, like Europe, America, Asia, Middle East, and Africa, likewise all the information. Okay guys. Okay, then I will move on. So why we are going to use MySQL? It is very well suited for a small, for our practices, and also in large application. So many companies use it. Okay, many companies use it, like the companies which we have given down. You can think, right, like Facebook and all, how much data they store. Then so that much is, extendable this MySQL is. So it is used in many places in the market. It can also be used in the web application. E-commerce, we know, like shoppings and all. Web application means some information when you are trying to retrieve from the database during your traversal of um, pages. That also you can use the MySQL. It's just a data storage unit, right? Database means it's a storage unit. Okay, on demand flexibility, you can access anytime. It is like it will not be like a go for a maintenance stage and all. So it is flexible. It is you can access anytime. Fast, reliable, and easy to use. A reliability, it means that once the data is stored, it is always permanent. Okay, any relational databases is like that only. Okay, it is highly available. When you retrieve the data, it will give the data to us. So highly available, huge volume of data, you can store it. And it also has a security features. These things we still not see. Okay, so how the securities are all applied. One security you can think, like when you are installing MySQL, okay, you will give the password, that is one of the securities. But security features that will be taken care by the administrators, like storing of data, the server nobody should access, right, those things. Okay, furthermore, see storage engines, I'll talk a little later on, we will not talk now. Storage engines is like the way how you are going to store your data. Okay, so they have a different storage engines for many databases. Okay, these are the types of storage engines. Okay, if it is of if the engine means, you can think, right, like in a car we have an engine and the engine says how the car works. Likewise, they also have a storage engine. If it is of a type, each type it will do different ways. Okay, INNODB, this is the default one. After 5.5, this is the default storage engine. So what it says is how the transaction will happen. It is ACID compliant. Okay, tables will be ACID compliant, and foreign key will support the referential integrity. It means whichever the foreign key is referring to another table, that table information has to be present. Likewise, it will support commit, rollback, and crash recovery. Rollback means you are trying to write store a data, and but you don't want to store a data, you want to undo it. Likewise, that is a rollback. Okay, you want to store the data. Commit means it will go and permanently store in your uh, space, memory space. And crash recovery and all this should be supported in this engine will support. It means when you install your MySQL, okay, defaultly it will be uh, set with this engine. Okay, so whatever the queries which you are writing, all will be compliant with this description whatever it is given here. Okay, you can change the engine based on your requirement. Okay, based on your user requirement, you can change the engine. Say if you want some engine where you don't want to do non create non-transactional tables or high speed storage. If you want the locking systems, and all locking means two people cannot access the same table or a row. Okay, locking. Or if you want to change into a different storage unit like memory, where tables are created in the heap, if you want to change it, or if you wanted to store data in a CSV format, then you can change the engine from InnoDB to CSV. Likewise, okay, and different descriptions are given for each of the storage engines. I hope you understand what a storage engine is, right? It means the engine which not an engine like the type how your data is going to be stored. Those things are defined by the engines. I mean, this supports, okay, if it is in the form of InnoDB, then all these descriptions will be present. Likewise, it is okay, defaultly it is InnoDB. That's what about this storage engine. You can see the storage engine. Okay. Hmm. Okay, it is a software module. Okay, so I told like MySQL is written in C++, as told, right? Internally, because it is written in C++. So it's a module, okay, in that implementation, where it says how you have to read and update your databases. Okay, there are two types of engines in MySQL. One is transactional and non-transactional. Transactional is row level locking, they say. Row level, you understand, no? Row level means this one. This is a row level. Row level locking means one person is accessing this information, or one application, or if you are writing a query to get the row one. Okay, then another query or another user cannot write a query to access a row one. That's what row level locking is. Table level locking is whole table will be locked. That is a non-transactional engine. Okay, there the two types of engines we have seen. This InnoDB, INNODB is transactional engine, where it will allow for the row level locking. So in that way it suffices the ACID compliant also. ACID I told, right? Atomicity, it is consistent, like one is accessing, other cannot access the row. Okay, see, you can create users in MySQL. Okay, we will see in detail later on. At that time, I will again explain about this one. Okay, users in MySQL in the sense, see, a server, no server information can be accessed by many clients. Okay, this is client one, client two. This one person, it means he can write a query, he can also write a query and access the particular server. Server in the sense internally some table you are going to access it. Okay, when you are trying to lock the table on row wise, that is two client cannot access, two client cannot write query to access the particular row, then we say it is a transactional uh, I mean transactional type. Transactional type. Otherwise, it is table itself is locked. Table itself cannot be accessed. Then it is non-transactional. The thing is, the engine is developed in such a way that MySQL engine that if it is of this type, DB, whatever I told will suffice. Otherwise, it will be taking any other engine itself. Okay, engine is like the working of the database. Okay, for MySQL 5.5 or later, the default storage engine is DB, whereas before it was MyISAM. Okay, that is also present, but we don't use it now. It is DB. It means if you install MySQL, our MySQL latest version will be 8. If you install 8.0, then it will comes with the DB engine itself. Okay, so by showing engine, you can see all the engines supported. Okay, there are these many engines available, storage engines, how the data is stored and how you can access it. It is mentioned by this engines, by this software module. Okay, okay, these are the examples. You can read through it. Mm, the storage engine specified at the time of creation. Okay, you can also create, say the storage inside an engine. They are saying it. Okay, we'll see this later on. Okay, we'll see the versions and stuffs. Okay. Okay, the front end. Front end means now we are going to mm, write all the queries, structured query language, SQL queries, MySQL queries in your terminal itself, in your Linux machine itself. Okay, Linux terminal in the MySQL prompt. Okay, we'll go to that prompt and we will write it. Otherwise, you can have the uh, interfaces like eclipse we have installed, right, for writing java codes. Likewise, to write the queries, you can have MySQL workbench or SQL pro, DB visualizers, and navigate DB admin tool. Any of this, like an IDE, you can think of. Okay, like Eclipse, this you can use it to write your queries. Normally, they use widely used as MySQL Workbench. This also we will install and see. But when I'm writing queries, I mostly write it from a MySQL prompt, that is terminal. Okay, because this you can learn it later on. You can work. You mostly will work with that only. Okay, then versions. MySQL comes in this versions like a community version and the enterprise server. This is open source, anyone can use it. Enterprises, so when it is like when enterprise is doing a purchase, they will take a license to install that. They will have an advanced features. Okay, when to apply in your enterprise. Enterprise is huge, right? For a companies likewise. Latest is this one. I think this has changed. I don't know. 8.0 is the one I know, but this minor version I don't know. You can check it. You can download it, MySQL Workbench versions from the archives. Okay, this is the download place, and this one is supported. Okay, in Ubuntu, we will take MySQL version 8.0.20. We have installed Ubuntu 20.04, right? For this version, we will install 8.0.20. If you have installed Ubuntu 18.04 or 21, I don't know which one will work. Actually, this is we have tested. Okay, for 20.0.04, 8.0.20, we have tested it.